Hi there, I'm Chris Marchini with Rose City Originals, and I'm here today to show you how to cut and sew your very own bow tie with my new Go bow tie die from AccuQuilt. So to make our bow tie, we're going to need a fat quarter of fabric, or you can use a 1/4 yard cut as well. You'll also need the same size of interfacing. Today I'm using the T-shirt project fusible interfacing from June Taylor. And then the last thing you'll need is 3 inches of 3/4 inch hook and loop tape. Now let's get started. I have already pre-fused my fabric with the June Taylor interfacing along the entire backside, and now I need to cut this in half. So for our rough cut, we're just going to take the fat quarter and cut it in half lengthwise so that you have 2 pieces that are about 9 inches by 21 or 22 inches, depending on your fabric. Now I do leave my selvage on for this, just in case the die needs to go into it a little bit. Depending on your manufacturer, some selvages are quite wide. So we'll just slice that in half. And then on each of these, I'm going to fold them in half, right sides together. And now we're ready to put it on our die board. Now we can cut up to 4 layers of pre-fused fabric, so we'll be able to cut our entire bow tie in one pass through the Go cutter. For today's bow tie, I will be covering the entire shape. There are indicators here that you can use to make different sizes of bow ties. And if you refer to the free download pattern on the AccuQuilt website, it will show you which markings to use for your desired collar size. So we will take both of these that we have folded up. Now when lining up, you do want to make sure your full shape is covered. I like to have it closest to the open side of the fold. And I'll show you why in a minute. So we'll just make sure the entire shape is covered. Then we'll take our second piece and layer that on as well. And now that we have everything covered, we will add our cutting mat. This is on a 6-inch by 24-inch die board, so it will fit through any of the Go cutters. So today I will be using my trusty Go Me to get this cut out. So we'll just start it on one side and move it through the cutter. Give the mat a little love and slide it off. And now we have 2 sets of our shapes, right sides together, ready to sew. Now the reason I prefer to line up closest to the open edge is now if you're making multiple bow ties, you can actually use this remainder, flip it around, and cut out half of another bow tie. So if you're making these en masse for family pictures, a wedding, some special event where everyone is wearing the same fabric, this is great to be able to cut out even more bow ties faster. And now that we have all of our shapes cut, we'll head on over to the sewing machine and sew all the way around the shape, leaving the space between these 2 notches open so that we have somewhere to turn it right side out. So I'm just going to start right at the notch. We have our fabrics right sides together, and we will sew this entire project with a standard 1/4 inch seam. I do recommend doing some back stitches at the beginning and end, just so as we're turning it out, we don't pop any of our stitches. Now on the die, we have pre-clipped the corners. We've also pre-clipped around all of our curved edges, so you don't need to worry about those. So when you get to the edge, I recommend just sewing straight off the edge. Then we'll sew up the skinny side as well. And then we'll start down the next edge. And there you could see we have just a little bit of fabric between where our stitches cross to where it's been clipped off. And then when you get to the curves, just continue sewing a 1/4 inch right along that edge. ignoring the notches. I find it easiest just to focus right here at the edge of your foot and not worry about what's coming up. Just keep this part aligned. And again, just sew straight off the edge. Then we'll sew straight down the wide end. And we can start on the other side. And when we get back to this notch, we'll do a couple back stitches. And this one is sewn. So now we'll repeat that with the next set. And there's our second side. And now that we have those sewn, it's time to turn them right side out. And the easiest way to do this is with a chopstick or a skinny point turner. From the wide end, it's pretty easy. You can just separate your two layers and use your chopstick to push it through. And remember that we're coming out between those two notches, not all the way at the skinny end. So once you reach the notches, you can finish that off by hand. Then we'll do the same with the skinny end. All right, doesn't look like much yet, but it's turned right side out, so let's do that with the other side. And now that those are both turned right side out, you can use your point turner to help get all of your edges out. So you can pop out all your corners and smooth your edges before we give it a good press. And my pro tip for projects like this, if you actually take the seam, kind of roll it in your fingers, it will help get it all the way to the edge so you have a nice crisp seam when you press it. So you can just kind of roll it. This works really well with thick projects. So you want that seam to be right along the edge. Poke out the corners on the skinny end too. Here's one. And there's number two. And now we're going to give these a really good press. And as we're pressing, we will tuck in that opening by about a 1/4 inch to match up with our seam and press that closed. And now that those are both pressed nicely, we're going to take that hook and loop tape, put this all back to the sewing machine. Now, before we attach our hook and loop tape, we need to finish closing up those holes from where we turned it right side out. So we're going to start at the top of that opening, which is closest to the actual bow, and just sew about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And I will sew all the way down, go across the bottom, all the way back up and across to kind of make a really large box. And that's just going to keep this flat while it's under your collar. So when I get back to see where my stitches started, I will just end parallel to that. And then I can pivot and sew over. Now you won't want to sew much further up than this, or those stitching lines will be visible on your finished bow. If you don't mind that, you can go all the way around and do kind of like a decorative stitch if that's the look you're going for. So now that that side's closed up, we'll do the same thing on the other one. And now that we have that large box sewn on both sides, we can attach our Velcro or our hook and loop tape. So on one side, at the very edge of the skinny end, we're going to sew on the hook side. And then on the other one, we'll sew on the loop side. Now I've used the same fabric for both sides of the bow tie, so there is really no right or wrong, so I don't have to worry about that. But if there's a specific side that you want facing out, sew the hook and loop tape onto the inside layer. So I'll get that positioned and then just sew right along the edge to attach it. And with that, we are done sewing the bow tie, so let me show you how to tie it. That was pretty easy to sew, wasn't it? Now the hardest part of the whole thing is actually tying the bow tie. But since we are working with two separate pieces and not one continuous loop, I have a trick to show you that'll make it a little bit easier. Now the step-by-step on how to tie the bow tie is included in the free downloadable pattern on the AccuQuilt website, but you can also bookmark this video and refer to it later. So we're going to start with either side. It doesn't matter if it's the hook side or the loop side. If you have cut these as two different lengths to make a smaller size, then you will want to put whatever side is shortest face up in front of you with the Velcro side facing up. We are then going to fold right there at the very apex of this bump, fold it back on itself. You can start to see that bow shape. And now we're going to take the other side with the Velcro facing down, and we're going to take the apex of that bump and line it up with the flat edge of the first side, and then take the tail and fold it up at a 45-degree angle right at the skinniest part of the bow. Now we'll take this side and fold it back on itself, just like that. Grab that whole thing and take this tail, wrap it all the way around, and on the back side, we're going to fish it through so that the Velcro is facing up. and you're coming out the opposite side from the other tail. And then you'll just play around with it until you get it looking just how you want it, making sure that that knot is nice and tight. At this point, you should have one side of your Velcro facing down and one side facing up so that you can then put it around your neck and they'll touch. And that's it. And there you go. You have made your first of, I'm sure, many bow ties. Now this die is also very versatile. Think about adding bows as embellishments to the back of a trucker hat, or maybe to a headband, or even a dog collar. Soon you'll be looking at everything around you and just thinking, could I put a bow on that? Thanks for watching. See you next time.